North Shore Arts Association are especially privileged to have you here to show us paintings and your skills in doing, talking about the great fishing industry that Gloucester has, which all of us in this area are very proud of. And we're very proud of you. And you're a treasure to Gloucester.
Oh, thank you.
And we appreciate your doing this. And we'll get more information from you on what your interests were and how you work this thing.
My pleasure. I fished on all these boats. This is a painting of all the boats that I fished on. There's one missing. I couldn't get a picture of it. The captain that has those photographs was vacationing when I made this painting. But there's one missing. I started on this boat right here. That's my brother-in-law's boat. It was a little boat. I don't know if it was 50 or 40-something feet long. That's the St. Bernadette. And that's the Gaetano S, one of the strongest wooden boats in the harbor. That was a big boat. It was like 92, 95 feet long. And this was the Ida and Joseph. The reason I was on that boat was because I was going to marry the captain's daughter, but it didn't work out. But that was a moneymaker. And this one's the St. Rosalie. I didn't make much money on that boat, but we used to have a lot of laughs. And this is an old sub chaser, the Rosie and Gracie. Used to be a World War II sub chaser. That was a good boat. I made money on that. And that was a relative's boat. And this was one of the last boats I fished on. It was called the Camilla. Before that, I think it was the Mary Ann. But somebody bought it and named it the Camilla, and that was one of the next to the last boat I fished on.
Well, one of the interesting things, Paul, was that I read, and I didn't really realize this, that you actually didn't crew necessarily on one boat all the time. That when people couldn't get to the, they had to do things at home or whatever, there'd be vacancies, and then different people would fill in to get on the boats and go out.
Yep.
So that most of the fishermen served on many different boats, so they weren't just on one boat,
Well,
which is
like me.
just as you said.
Yeah, I had, when I wasn't fishing, I had land jobs, whether it be landscaping or moving furniture or stuff like that. And then I'd go, somebody'd ask me if there was a vacancy on a boat, just like you say, and whether I could or would do it. That's how I ended up on another boat. And but yeah, I wasn't constantly fishing. It was an off and on thing.
Well, even the fishing aspect of things too, the fishermen when they were off weren't necessarily off the boat. They may be off the boat, but they weren't not fishing. They were doing other work that was related. They had to mend the nets. They had to go get ice and what have you.
Oh, it's a constant.
So it's a constant thing.
7 days a week. They make you laugh. They made me laugh when they call it a day off. On your day off, you had to go down there and get food, fuel, and ice, and mend the nets all morning. Maybe one in the afternoon, and then you had the afternoon off. Yep. And then you'd be out fishing 2, 3 in the morning. You'd have to go on the boat 2, 3 in the morning. But they called that a day off.
Can you say something about the type of boat? What was different about the different boats?
Well, okay, this was a day boat. We used to do box fishing. We dragged the net on the bottom and we pull the catch in, and then we would cull the fish for the species that we were fishing for, and we would we'd cull the fish. The trash was undesirable fish that wasn't saleable, and the fish that we were fishing for, we'd put in baskets. I used to work the fish hole, and they used to hand me down baskets. I would dump them into 125-pound boxes and put ice on them and nail the covers on. After a day's work, we'd bring in like anywhere from 30 to 100 boxes of fish every day. But we'd do that 6 days a week, and every Friday we had off, and then.
But you folks didn't have very much time off.
No, we didn't.
Even when you were on the boats,
Right.
you were doing the different shifts that you had to take over, and even when you got back. So, and on days you never knew when you're going to be called. Sometimes they would call you at the last minute to say, "Get out there on the boats."
Yep. But all these boats were interchangeable. Whatever species there was. In abundance, or if they got news that, they could switch over to a shrimp net, they could go whiting, fish for whiting, or they could put a bigger mesh net and fish for ground fish. So they were all interchangeable. I remember filling this boat up once with 150,000 of whiting one trip, and then the next trip we'd go off the Grand Banks or Browns Banks and fish for ground fish. So all these boats could do this. This boat here was not only a dragger, dragging the net, but they were also surface fishing, a seiner. The later period of this boat's life was usually spent in seining for mackerel or pogies.
You know, the one big thing as far as the artists are concerned, and I think all of us artists, we'd spend a lot of time down at the harbor to study the riggings. Each of these different boats had different riggings. And in order to properly draw them, we had to do a lot of sketching.
Yep. Well, to get the lighter part of the net we had it was called a Gilson. And then when we got all of the 70–80% of the net in, you'd come down to where the fish would be constantly packed into the end, and that would be the caught end. And you'd need to switch over to the big block and tackle. And because some of those bags of fish, they weigh anywhere from 1,000 pounds to 8,000 pounds a piece. And if you had more fish in the net than that, you'd have to split them. There was a strap that you used to hook up, and most of the fish would stay in the water, and you just bring in. Sometimes you get 2 or 3 bags, maybe 5 bags aboard each time, 5,000 pounds of fish in them.
Well, one of the things we'd like to talk a little bit more about is to talk about the people, because that is what you as an artist present. We've had many great artists in this area doing the harbor scenes in Gloucester, the Mohops, the Groupies, the Movalis. Many of these people are still doing great work in the harbors with the boats and with the people. But what you have been doing is the thing that you're bringing that's unique to us is you're bringing us a close-up of the workers, of the people.
Exactly.
That's what makes the industry.
Exactly. Many great painters, much better than I'll ever become, painted those wharves and those boats much better than I can ever do. But I wanted to focus on the men and their work. Okay. I wanted to make them more important. They had a way of putting figures in to enhance the boats and give that whole marine atmosphere, and they did a wonderful job. But I wanted to find a way to make the men more important.